Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back doing another Star Wars breakdown video. It's been a while since we did a Star Wars video or any show video in a while. It's been a minute. Last time we were actually doing it was for Book of Boba Fett when Mandalorian was on Book of Boba Fett. So it's kind of picking up right where we left off with the breakdown videos. Who are you joining us today?
Yo, what's up, y'all? I'm Taba, Best Wilson. I'm a Zood. Been knowing these fools since, middle school, high school, and happy to be on the program. I was on a few of the early episodes. Haven't been back in a minute, but it's definitely always good to be back when I can.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Tug right here. Just make sure to keep the distance. Yeah. Man. So we got fellow Star Wars nerd up in the casita here talking about Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, the long-awaited return of our new favorite Star Wars character, one of the best of the new era, the Disney era. Although I will, what'd you think of the episode? I watched it right at midnight. What did you think? What did you think of the episode here?
Yeah, first of all, just happy to be able to talk about The Mandalorian. I think The Mandalorian is, honestly, one of the best pieces of Star Wars we've gotten in a very long time. I know there's mixed reviews on how people feel about the original trilogy versus the prequel trilogy versus the sequel trilogy. Wherever you stand on all of those things, I feel like we could all agree that The Mandalorian is probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars content we've gotten in a while, in my opinion, at least. So let me just start by saying that. But I thought it was a good episode. I saw it this morning. I was going to watch it at midnight, but I was exhausted. And so I ended up just falling asleep. And then I woke up at 3 and I was like, do I want to watch it now? I was like, nah, I might as well just wait until I'm actually awake and all the way, completely alert. So I watched it earlier this morning and I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. It's a way to set everything up, set up the new season and kind of just go into everything that's going on. Because again, if you saw the Boba Fett stuff and, even in season 2, it was all about him trying to reclaim his validity as a Mandalorian because, she was the Mandalorian chick. She was have you taken your helmet off? And he was honest and said he took it off. So she's like, you know what? You're against the customs now. So now you have to redeem yourself. And so now it's just kind of setting up that journey. So I thought they did that nicely.
Yeah, I think the intro was one of the stronger parts of the episode where, you're initially watching and it's like a ritual. They're initiating a foundling. And I honestly thought it was a flashback. I really thought it was a flashback. The way they kind of set that up, you didn't really know what was going on at first. I think that was one of the stronger parts of the episode because I really didn't know where they were going with it yet, and then it just turns into a battle with a big giant crocodile turtle monster out of nowhere. Full spoilers, by the way. Full spoilers. Come on, it's an episode breakdown. But I thought the intro was one of the cooler parts of the episode. The CGI on the monster actually looked pretty decent too, considering it's a show. I got similar vibes to when they fought the Crate Dragon on season 2. Really good design on it. Some of the composition was a little wonky, with the live action and the CG stuff, but overall, I think the creature looked really good. And when he blew it up with the spaceship, that was and those chunks flying everywhere and stuff. I was like, that's what I love. I love me some little gritty Star Wars, a little bit of a little bit of monster violence, a little bit of blowing people up. And I think something for me about the episode and at the premiere here is that it's a little bit interesting because we already almost had the follow-up to the end of season 2 on Book of Boba Fett. There were those 2 episodes that very clearly were from season 3. It was pretty much season 3, episode 1 and 2. They already kind of they already displayed a lot of the stuff that people were really anticipating seeing in season 3 on Book of Boba Fett, which I think kind of hurt this premiere because it felt like it was almost like an episode in the middle of the season or early in the middle of a season, because there was lots of setup with Grief Karga, that's Carl Weathers' character. And I love how everybody was all like, are they going to just write Cara Dune out of the story? Are they going to just, is it going to just be one line?
I thought it was very interesting how they handled that because they didn't necessarily have to. I felt like they had to say something about the whole situation. So they kind of wrote that whole part in, but it's will they, won't they? And they definitely decided to lean into it and kind of explain, okay, yeah, she's she got promoted somewhere else, so you're never going to see her again. And
they're like, no, she's not around. She has other things.
Other obligations now.
I really when that happened, I just laughed though. I was like, really, we're just gonna. It was so soon too. It was like almost immediately.
Right.
They started talking
Yo, let's
about,
just
like,
get this out of the way right now.
Where's Cara doing? It's like she's fucking canceled, and that's where she is. Right. So that made me laugh. I don't know. Some of it was like I said, I felt like those episodes that were in the Book of Boba Fett had like the very like kind of serious tone on point, you know, where like he was fighting other, you know, actually doing bounties, and you get kind of the vibe of the Mandalorian being alone for a bit. Because we had our whole Grogu reunion in that other show, so now they're just kind of back to almost status quo, you know, like it's a sitcom or something.
Yeah. It's actually interesting when you say that, because like I just watched all this content as it's coming out, so I don't even necessarily associate everything that's happened with Mandalorian to like, oh, this was the Boba Fett show, this was in season 1, this was in season 2, and so like I kind of always, it's in my mind, it's all together, but like it is kind of true. It's like they didn't necessarily have to do as much setup at all with, you know, episode 1, season 3, because they already set everything up in the Boba Fett show. So it's like, it's interesting because again, at the end of season 2, it was supposed to be him saying goodbye and like him, like, you know, taking Grogu, you know, end of the journey, taking him to, you know, the Jedi Order, and then like, you know, you pick up and it's like, oh, well, actually, no, he's actually back with him now. So it is interesting how that all kind of ended up playing out for sure.
Yeah, and it's like if you're not really following in, you know, like stuff as it's coming out and like are aware of like what part is what of, you know, part of what canon and timeline, what story arcs are sticking together, like I could totally see it just being like a what moment, because even I feel like it's like a like what moment, because I watched the other show, so So yeah, I think that kind of like they really wanted to get back to that tone of like the look how cute he is, like the marketability of it. And I think the tone is a little bit kind of all over the place because of it. I did like when he went to talk to what's her name, Katie Sackhoff's character, Bo-Katan. And then you know, you got to kind of see the aftermath of their because you didn't see that in Book of Boba Fett. That's something that they didn't really address at all. I mean, which is good. They saved something for the actual show. But her scenes were definitely some of the best. I think tonally they kind of have like a little bit more of a little bit more stakes into it, a little more like weight behind the actual character interactions. The subplot with the pirates was not really doing it for me for like the, you know, antagonist of the episode. You know, I don't know. I feel like we've seen that same area getting terrorized by random criminals a million times now in the 2.5 seasons we've had of this show, you know, so.
I actually kind of appreciated that though, because it kind of shows the character development of Grief in particular, because like, you know, that's what he came from. That's who he was, you know. Very clearly, he was like more about the, you know, the scum and villainy and getting over on people and profiting. And then like now you see like how the journey that he's had with Din Djarin and, you know, everyone else is kind of like transformed him into a more noble person. And now he has like responsibility. He's trying to, you know, restructure this whole, you know, place that he's like, you know, in charge of now. And he's trying to like make it, you know, an independent thing. And so he's like, you know, I can't be about the same stuff I was on before. I can't, you know, your old friends can't come with you, you know? Everybody can't go. If they don't see the vision, if they don't know how to develop and grow and be about some different stuff, then it's like, look, you got to stay in the past. I can't be over here. I'm dealing with children. I'm trying to, you know, establish a school. I'm trying to do all these things that's better for the community. So, like, if you can't be a part about that, then, you know, you got to get up out of here. And don't think I ain't, you know, I ain't about that life still. Because he's like, oh, you ain't got it. You saw him. He's like, oh, try it.
I do love the amount of just Western duels on the show, and like this whole and like the whole kind of Favreau Filoni team. They really love just like the Western quick draw kind of duels. I will say though, it's a pretty similar arc that Boba Fett had on the Boba Fett show. So I was like, it kind of almost could have like, I don't know, there's very similar characters in that regard, in their character arcs. I did like the costuming on some of the guys though, that like the practical effects on the little the little motherfuckers fixing the droids too. Those we're like debating as we're watching, like, are those CGI or is that like practical effects, or is it practical effects with CGI? Is it CGI animated to look like practical effects? Like it's a little bit of both. Yeah, it looked like a little bit of both. Yeah, because we're like, what the fuck? Like I don't know, like their faces were kind of too like mobile for like something that small. But
some cute dudes, though, cute little guys.
yeah, it's fun. Little critters running around, and you get your little opportunity for some cuteness there. Remember one of those guys was on Rise of Skywalker too. So at least they're not shying away from that. I'd rather them like actually try to use some of the elements that did work from those movies, and that guy was fine. He was just a cool little wacky guy. Little engineer. How you feel about IG-11 or
IG-11? I thought that was a really cool concept. I think it's really cool that they're trying to, bring him back, and I think it's cool to kind of play back into like how he doesn't really trust droids, and so now it's like he finally found a droid that he kind of fucks with, that he's cool with, and it's like, okay, well, shoot, like let's bring him back. If I'm gonna have to deal with a droid, I want to make sure it's this guy because we have that history, that skin in the game, and then they bring it back, and then it's like his old programming comes up, and he's trying to kill baby Grogu again. So I was like, oh damn, now we gotta fix him up. So.
It was so scum though how they knocked the statue over, and he's like, that's thinking with your head right there, and I was like, fuck you guys. Like that's not. That was like, oh man, I was like, yeah, this is still a Disney Plus show, that's for sure. God damn it, but yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to them fixing him up and him being the homie again, and like because he was a dope droid. Like I really liked how he was, like
I think too, like since baby Grogu is already back with him, I think in lieu of Grogu being with them, they should have had just him and IG-11 be buddy cop for a while, because I think they could have been a cool duo together for sure.
Yeah, I think if I could have changed anything, I would have had Grogu at least like start his training as a Jedi for a little bit, and then that like kind of bring IG-11 in, and like they're kind of doing their thing, and then you kind of get some scenes with just Grogu training with Luke and Ahsoka for a little bit.
Well, it's like they fucked up because they could have had Grogu in the Ahsoka show, like, and then it's like, okay, boom, it's like, okay, everybody's jonesing for Baby Yoda, and now it's he's gonna be in this other new show we're putting out, so. But it was cool, it's just, again, like I think the I don't know about how long term baby Grogu is going to factor into the tone of the show. I think it might kind of throw a wrench in the gears for some of the more serious, because like when they were talking about what the night where the Empire just like annihilated Mandalore on Book of Boba Fett, I was like, that scene was like genuinely like really kind of impactful, because it really showed him just laying waste to Mandalore, blowing everything up, and it made it seem like it was like this serious like historical event that happened in the Star Wars world. And I don't know, I kind of miss some of that vibe, where it's like, Battle of Hoth, Battle of Yavin, they all feel like big, World War II battles. So, the night where they glassed Mandalore, I forgot what they called it or whatever. But that was a pretty crazy sequence, and I thought that.
Well, I think they're still setting the table with that, because you got Bo-Katan. She's, all her people kind of left out on her because she doesn't have the what's it called, the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Din Djarin has a Darksaber now, and so it's like she's like, you should come over here and run it how you want to. She's kind of lost her faith a little disillusioned with the whole movement now. And then you kind of see the her people, or her old people now, right, and how they kind of view the Mandalorian culture, and then like the people that he grew up with, like the Death Watch people, and like how they kind of like they're all about keeping the mask on, and then Bo-Katan's people is like, no, you don't have to do that. It's kind of like a taboo, kind of superstitious type of thing,
right?
And so I think that like it kind of set the tone for like what could be in the future, as far as like obviously Din Djarin, I think in a perfect world he would have stayed with Grief and been like that officer person that Grief offered him to be.
But he's got to do the harakiri.
Yeah, he has some unfinished business. So now he's got to figure out, okay, the fate of the Mandalore really is in my hands at this point. I have this Darksaber. I still have to, kind of do my thing and make sure I'm kind of like, Mandalorian baptized, wash away all my sins of, taking off my mask or whatever. And then I think the next step for him is to kind of establish the Mandalorian culture the way he wants to. So I think we could see like a Mandalorian civil war, It could be those two kind of, factions clashing, and then he has to kind of figure out how to mediate and figure out how to, set those things up.
Well, it's like I definitely want to see like how I would be very interested in like how both sides like see like the Empire occupation. There's been a little bit of that too. Like Bo-Katan wants to reclaim the planet. The other ones don't really care. They just want to kind of do their own thing. I think it would have been good for this episode to kind of kick off. I mean, I think it did with the scene with Bo-Katan's kind of kicking off like, the arc of like, we're going to try to, unify them or get the Mandalorians to do something together. And then I think it's very obvious, we're getting IG-11 so that, we can have some extra firepower. I've heard a rumor, though, that IG-11 is going to basically turn into a mech suit for Baby Yoda. And I'm like, that sounds very
that's
interesting.
That's interesting, to say the least. I don't know how much I like that one.
I don't think I like that one, but I do believe that they would run something like that. But like they've just been making very strange decisions the entire time they've owned this fucking property.
I wouldn't put it past Disney to do that. Yeah. But I think it's kind of interesting and weird, just the whole aspect of Grogu being like, again, at the end of the day, this dude is 50 years old. I need to see like some growth,
some character, some characterization,
No, can he talk now? Like, what's going on? Like, he's gonna be a toddler forever. Like, what is he gonna grow up?
Yeah, and I was like, I feel like he even got like more characterization like earlier in the show, like in season 1, where like he was like choking out like stormtroopers and like throwing them around and like getting like upset, and it's all like, okay, yeah, he's clearly using the dark side there, and it's like he's clearly a baby still. Like,
I'm ready to see like preteen Grogu now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and that's why they kind of fucked up by, again, like just kind of, bringing them back together as soon as possible because, it didn't give you time to miss the guy, because I'm already like, yeah, cool, like cute, nice. Like that's fucking, these episodes are only half hour long too, which I kind of think too, kind of hurts the show. I didn't watch Andor, but weren't those episodes longer?
Those episodes were definitely longer. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't finished all of Andor myself.
Yeah.
But they are definitely longer. I think they're like honestly, I think the first one is like a full hour. I think there's a lot of them. They're like at least 50 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, especially if the episode's only a half hour long. It's like you can't have so much of the kind of just non sequiturs, like the just kind of like nonsense kind of fluff of. Again, I get it. You're trying to sell toys. That's what Star Wars has always been all about. But I don't know. We kind of get it at this point.
Yeah, it's a little like it's season 3, guys. It's a little redundant.
Especially a lot of people that are like looking for like a show to develop. And again, I think the Mandalorian stuff was clearly kind of the next like biggest thing. It's like, okay, getting Baby Grogu somewhere. That's like the big story arc of the first 2 seasons. And now it's like, okay, now he has the Darksaber, Mandalorian unification. Like that's kind of the next place to go with it, and I think that focusing too much on Baby Grogu again could be a problem. But I mean, it was cool. At least all the effects look good. Some of these shows do not be looking that good sometimes. At least I think the effects were, at least the CGI. Some of the CGI mixing with the live action stuff looked a little wonky, but the spaceship fight was pretty solid. It was cool. I didn't really think that pirates, it's like these are, we didn't really know these guys before, if it was like Imperial Remnant, I would immediately be like 10 times more invested because it's like, it's not just some random assholes I know that it could be. It's like, oh, okay, like we're actually have a problem here again. Like, yeah. So, yeah, it was solid though. Like I said, I felt like it definitely felt like it was episode 3, not season 3, episode 1. I felt like it was like a setup episode. And the first fight was really was pretty cool with the giant monster, and then with the spaceship, on paper I feel like you had a lot there, but some of it just fell a little bit flat. But like I said, I love the Bo-Katan scenes. Those were some of the best parts for me. And Grief Karga, I love Carl Weathers, don't get me wrong. And bringing IG-11 back, that's gonna be rad when we get him back. I hope he's not a mech suit because that's kind of fucked up. He's not that, then he's not back.
Yeah, I think Grief is a really cool character. I think he does a really good job portraying that character. So definitely want to see more of him. I don't know what's next as far as like who's gonna be the main antagonist of this season. Is it just gonna be about him kind of like trying to unify things, or what's going on, even with Grogu, like, because I think you do, since Grogu is back now, you have to focus on Grogu personally as a person, as a force-sensitive individual in all of this. Like, where's his story going now?
Yeah, and there wasn't much setup in terms of like, what antagonists are going to be coming into play, what, I didn't really, that's kind of my thing about the show. I was like, I feel like we could have set up a little bit more here, because it felt like just like another slice of Mandalorian episode, which again, if it was in the middle of a season, I wouldn't really care, but it's the the season 3 premiere, and it's kind of it was okay.
It was shorter than I expected. I thought we were gonna get at least 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and again, too, it's like I think people wanting to see Din use the Darksaber. We already got some of that in Boba Fett, but I still wanted to see him use it here too. I was like, oh, is he gonna do something sick with it? And I was like, he didn't even pull it out the whole episode.
And pulling it out just a little bit, like he could have deflected a blaster shot or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like he could have been like, "See, we have a problem here," that, and kind of intimidated him just with it. Like he didn't even have to use it, especially. But like I said, though, on the intro scene from the Book of Boba Fett, where Din actually uses the Darksaber against the other foes while doing a bounty. I think that's a way better season intro than what we got here, which
it actually is. Like, that's a good point. I think if they would have saved all of that stuff and just put it all in here, it would have hit different for sure.
Yeah, man, that shit would have been some flames. So I don't know. It's kind of weird because I'm in my headcanon now. I'm like, yeah, those are definitely literally like that was the real premiere to me. So I'm not mad though. I'm not mad at it. I want the rest for I hope that it builds up. I hope that it keeps going. I think we're definitely going to Mandalore. I would love to see some of the kind of I'd love to see some kind of Maul influence going on, because
I think that's coming. I think that's for sure coming.
Yeah, like I know he's already dead, but like there was a ton of Mandalorians in the Clone Wars and Siege of Mandalore that followed Darth Maul, and they really fucked with him, and he wielded the saber for a while too. He is one of the wielders of the Darksaber, so I would love to see some Darth Maul lore get integrated into the story. I think it's very possible.
I think that would be cool too, because you could even adding Grogu into it. He's a dark side user. He's the user of the Force. Grogu's Force sensitive. He's already had his kind of struggles with the dark side in his own way. Mm-hmm. And so even maybe Din Djarin going on this journey, and Bo-Katan, she's had her bouts with Darth Maul in the Clone Wars series too. So there's a lot you could do there. And I think, kind of just leading into what kind of stuff did he do when he was actually head of the Mandalorian, clan or whatever, with the dark side in particular, and how is that going to affect Grogu,
And it's like, if we got some flashbacks with Ray Park though, I'm just saying, all right, just a question too I have for you. A lot of people for the Mandalorian have been like, oh, there's too much fan service. Having legacy characters is just fan service. There's too much fan service. I don't know. I thought the season 2 had the perfect amount of balance for legacy characters actually pushing the story forward. Again, I feel like on Book of Boba Fett, if they did the Grogu training episode in this season, okay, it wouldn't feel so out of place because we've already seen Luke and Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. So seeing them together on screen trading Grogu would be the next step for that. It felt like a follow-up to that, like a little coda at the end. So what legacy characters do you think could show up or would you want to see in this season? I mean, we just said Darth Maul.
Definitely Darth Maul. I think I would not mind seeing a little bit of Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka. She's honestly one of my favorite characters. She's grown on me. When she was first introduced, I didn't really like her that much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No one did. No one did. No one liked Ahsoka for a long time.
They've sold me for sure. So she's cool, and I cannot wait for her own independent series. But I would love to see her on the show.
I think Bosk. I want to see Bosk, man. Bosk would be a good one. Yeah. Man, who else even? I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like Solo, but what's his name as Han Solo? If you just ran it and then Donnie Glover as Lando, you could do either of those.
You could do either one of those. That'd be cool too.
There wasn't bad casting. It was just a shit production, which I think plagues Star Wars a lot. Let me try and think of who else. But Bosk is a number one. I've been wanting to see Bosk on screen for a minute. I thought he was going to show up in Boba Fett. He didn't. I was very let down. Let me think. I'm trying to think who else, man. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know, but I think definitely some Darth Maul influence. Even if he's not there, just for his presence and his impact to be felt would be cool, cuz he's already dead by this point.
You have to mention down. I think if they go this whole season without ever mentioning Darth Maul at all and his influence on the Mandalorian culture, I'd be okay, yeah, what's going on? We need that. So.
Yeah, we definitely need some of that. Yeah, all right. You think that's a good spot right there?
Yeah, that's a good spot. All I can say is I'm just interested to see where Star Wars is going in general. There's been a lot of rumors as far as them making a new trilogy series eventually, and it's gonna have Ray like be like the lead in it, and they're basically kind of like leaning into like the things that's the stronger points of the sequel trilogy, which I have a lot of mixed feelings about. Like we have a whole episode about like how I feel about those sequel films, but like it's interesting because they're really leaning into it apparently. Rumors, and I'm kind of concerned about the future of Star Wars as a result of that, because obviously you have like it happened, I get it, but like, where are we going with this? How are you going to make sure that it doesn't happen like this again? Is my question.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to pick up the pieces from. I think some of those elements could still survive and keep moving forward, but it's just a tough sell. It's a very, very tough sell. I think that. I mean, I was way more on board for the kind of world between worlds split timeline thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That a lot of people were speculating about.
I was hoping for that
the
one.
The Filoni-verse is going to have a climactic event where it's going to be basically they fight Palpatine in the world between worlds and somehow, create a different timeline. That's not unprecedented. That's already going on with the fucking old expanded universe and the newer
Star
stuff.
Wars Rebels. We saw a little bit of that. So
it's not nowhere to be found. I think there's probably going to be some very mystical stuff going on in Ahsoka. I'd like to see Star Wars get a little more mystical again, a little more spiritual. I think that's one of the only things from the sequel trilogy that was decent was the way Luke talked about the Force was very, very, very hermit, not very monk kind of, like you're kind of pontificating all these elements of nature. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. So hopefully in Ahsoka we see that. Yeah, I mean, if they go forward with like a new, like with the sequel trilogy characters, I mean, if they do it, they do it.
I mean, I have nothing. The thing is, I have nothing against like Rey as a character. I have nothing against. Well, I do have some things against how they did Finn, but like I just think
they did them dirty.
There are ideas that were there that were great. It's just the way it was executed was terrible. So I feel like if you just actually write a good story with these characters, it could work.
Yeah, and I think too, just make it more substantial. Don't make it a rehash. Like have some original ideas. There's a lot they could have drawn from that they didn't, and I think there's a lot they could still draw from. Like, I mean, if it's all these characters versus the Yuzan Vongse, that could get crazy really fast, and you could totally switch up the tone of the whole thing. Basically have some predators in Star Wars. So that could be cool. I do love the Filoni stuff. I like where they're going with that. I like them giving it. They're actually giving it some connective tissue, I feel like, So
Filoni is a W whenever it comes to Star Wars, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Safe bet.
Pro Filoni here. But yeah, Fallen Order 2 is coming out soon. I just watched Chris beat the first one again, and so sick. Love that game. That game is amazing. That's one of the best Star Wars things to come out too.
Yeah, I definitely I can't wait to get my hands on that game. I've been playing a lot of that Hogwarts game. I just recently got that.
Oh yeah, how's that, man?
It is amazing, dude. It is so fun, and it's like it's cool because like again, like it's open world RPG, of course, but like depending on like what house you choose, like you have a different journey, storyline it is what it is, but it's a lot of replayability with it and everything like that too. So I'm really excited. Like I'm just starting it and I'm loving it, but like there's so much more to the game I have to still discover. So I'm having a lot of fun with that one.
Hell yeah. All right, let's call it right there, man. That was a good one. We've been talking about Star Wars. Gonna probably try to bring this back around as much as we can. Keep up with the Star Wars shows and some other bullshit. And definitely check us out. I'm Adrian Grody on Instagram. I'm part of ZUDECAST. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. Come check us out. And I create the Cosmic Lore Comics. I'm also Artist Loud Night on Instagram too. So definitely check me out there. And we got Tapa.
So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Okumoja, Okumoja. And then I also have my own art page where I'm working on my own comic book as well, Taba_rank. So follow me on either one of those. And I'm definitely excited to be on the next episode.
All right. See you another time. Ho.